In this video, I use shortcut keys to make modeling more efficient. Many common commands already have shortcut keys like M for move and L for line, A for arc, P for push-pull, spacebar for select. Shortcut keys are set up under Shortcuts, under System Preferences. To assign a key, start typing in the menu designation in the filter box, for instance, hide. Select Edit Hide, type in the letter you want. Let's look at how to bring 2D CAD geometry into SketchUp into 3D. Import the CAD stuff and Windows select the lines I want. Right click and make a group. I make groups so often I've assigned it to the letter G. So all I need to do is select stuff and type G for group. Zoom in and rotate or spin this 90 degrees and move it up in the blue so that compared to the top view it sticks up above it. Then go to a top view and go to camera, make it parallel projection so we're looking straight down on it. Zoom in and make that a scene. We'll call it top. I don't want to save hidden geometry. Click on it. And this will be front. This is the front view. And I'll click till I see the one I need. We'll make this one side. Create a new scene, select it, type side. And we don't want it to be moving during working, so we'll go to Window, Model Info, and under Animation we will turn off scene transitions. Now when you click front and side it jumps quickly to them, and I also like to save one called ISO, an isometric view. Click Add a Scene, make it ISO, and we'll move that one down. So now we're ready to start modeling. Click on the side view, L to start drawing a line. And when you're working with CAD, I find that endpoint, it works great because you can snap to endpoints, but circles and arcs come in way too detailed. So what I'm going to do is pull along the line until I hit the first endpoint I find. That way I've isolated the arc geometry from the CAD. Do the same here. Come down, first endpoint, click back over. Now I can resolve the arcs. So A for arc, type in 4S for 4 sides, snap to the endpoints, and I can use the CAD to snap for my bulge point. E for eraser, and I will erase things I don't need, and if I spacebar and select, there's my profile. P to push-pull this profile. Start push-pulling it, go to the front view. I want to push-pull it over till it meets this endpoint in the CAD, but my push-pull is obscuring the CAD geometry below. Use the X-ray mode button and you can select through faces. Select on that endpoint in the group, orbit, push-pull this edge back to match that edge. I use X-ray mode so much I've assigned it to the letter T for transparency, so I can turn it on or off by just typing T. The bolt holes, type R, and I hover over the face and hold Shift, so I'm locked to that surface, but I can, with X-ray mode, reach through and touch the CAD line work. Now A for arc, we're still at 4 sides. Click on those 2 endpoints. If I touch and hold Shift on the face, I can reach down below and use the CAD line work as my snapping points for the bulge. T to turn transparency back off, and I'll erase those edges, orbit, P, and push-pull the hole. Instead of outwards, we'll push down, touch that endpoint, it cuts it all the way through. There's the bracket. These lines, we don't want those hard lines, so E for the eraser. If you use Control or Option on the Mac with the eraser, it smooths the edge. There's our nice bracket. So triple click on it. We'll make a group of it because there's only one of them here. And go to the side. Let's draw in the side plate. L. Start drawing a line. Snap very quickly to the CAD line work. Come down and find that first endpoint, just like before. A for arc. This time we'll just draw an arc straight away since we know how to do it now. And use the CAD line work for the tangency. And L from that endpoint creates the surface. Then C, let's make sure we have an 8-sided circle. Hover over the endpoint and use the CAD geometry to find the center. P now, when you hover over a surface, it highlights so you can hover over the holes and hit delete. Quick way to delete a bunch of stuff. Click on the face, come down, and click on the appropriate point where that plate stops relative to the front view. Click and do the same for the other edge of the plate, and there's our plate in 3D space. Spacebar, triple click, and make a component. You should always make sure that your insert point is what you want. This one I don't really care which way the blue goes. And you always want to replace selection with component. Create. Now copy this. Control with the move tool or option. Hold down shift to lock it in the red direction, and I will take it all the way to this far endpoint. If we look at the front view, it's not over top of the CAD because we want this to be a mirrored component. I copied it over that far and then use scale tool. Click on the back grip and pull it past itself, and it becomes a negative or a mirrored image, and type -1. Going back to the front view now with -1, it's a mirrored component and it lines up. Let's draw these side plates. R for rectangle. Zoom in, and C for circle. Make sure it's 8 sides, 8S. Hover and find the CAD center point. Then just use it to define our size. Select the surface and delete it. P, and we'll push-pull this plate up. Use the side view. Zoom out. Place it at the top of the plate. Orbit underneath. And click on the bottom of that plate. And there it is. There's our component, or our plate. So triple click. Make a component. And make sure replace selected. Create it. And with the move tool, let's make a copy. So we'll copy it from there to there. Now, it was a straight copy over top of the CAD image. We can use the scale tool, find the middle grip, click on it, start to pull it past itself, it's going to be off. But if we hold down Option or Control, it'll do the mirroring about the middle of the component or the selection. So click when it's in a negative direction and type -1, and there is our plate that's mirrored. Select both plates and let's make a copy of them. Hold down Shift. We're going from the top of the plate, so we'll go to the top of the plate. If we orbit, we see that they're in the right spot. There's a plate down below it. So R, Draw a rectangle, push-pull that up. And C for circle, let's make this one 12 segments, 12S. Find the midpoint, come over, hold Shift, and click on the opposing midpoint, and that centers it on the square. Click to place it and push-pull it out. Now this is a pipe. You can see the sidewall shown in the CAD drawing. Use the offset tool to give the tube a wall thickness, and P to push-pull it back to that plate. Spacebar and triple click on everything, and G make a group of it. Now draw in using the endpoint. See, there's a little bit of a gap between the plate and this new plate. So we use the CAD line work for the plate. P to push-pull it. Touch the bottom corner of that plate, orbit underneath, click, push-pull it up, find the top corner. So there's the thickness of that metal plate. This plate surrounds this pipe, so the pipe really is going to cut that plate. Edit the component, select the tube, and copy that. Paste in place. It puts the copied tube right back in the same spot. Then we can move that from the midpoint back here to the midpoint there, and that centers that on the plate. Spacebar, and we'll triple click to select that, and right click and intersect all the faces in the selection. Then erase parts of the tube we don't need any longer, and trace from endpoint to endpoint. Heal that up, and E to erase. And there's our cut plate. Now we can move this plate from the midpoint up in the blue to match the midpoint of the plate. Spacebar and triple click to grab the plate and make a group out of that. Now there's a little pipe that sticks out the top of that smaller plate. Double click to edit. The rest of the model's in the way. If you go to View, down to Component Edit, and hide the rest of the model, you can now see everything. It's still there. I use this so often I've assigned it to Shift C. So I can see the rest of the model, or Shift C, hide the rest of the model. I'm going to double click into this inner group and C, draw a circle. For that inner, smaller, it's a threaded rod. P to push-pull it, and Shift C to see the rest of the model, so we get a sense of how long to make it. And there it is. Click outside. There's our finished bracket. We'll select everything and make a component. We'll call it bracket. And we're going to set a new component axis. Instead of blue being up with it laying flat on its back, I'm going to have blue go along this plate's direction. So click at that origin, here for the red and down for the green. Now the blue is pointing upwards. Hit Create. Make a copy off to the side. And we'll spin that 90 degrees. There's our bracket. If I edit into the bracket, I can select that and move it up in the blue. That's how it works in real life. It slides in those grooves of those plates. There's our bracket. Let's draw the top bracket now. Rotate this bracket, this image, line work, 90 degrees, and move it up in the blue so that it is above. Click on front, and let's just pan downwards and update that scene to be this new bracket. Side view, pan sideways, and update that side view. And then ISO view will update the ISO view, and we're ready to roll. Except this bracket should be seen from above. So let's spin that. You want to make sure you get your 2D placed to match each other. And then we'll have the end of this bracket, bent plate, line up with that one. Okay, now we're good. Let's start modeling. L, and we'll draw in the bent plate. P to pull that out. Go to a front view. We'll just orbit a little bit off. Click on the CAD geometry to line it up. Click on the CAD geometry to line it up. To put the holes into this plate, draw directly on the ground plane using the CAD. So find the center point of each one. Just draw it right there away from the plate. That's fine. Then select all the geometry, and M will move it in the blue direction. Hold down Shift and click on the surface we want, and it merges to that surface. And now we can push-pull to that endpoint, and it cuts a hole all the way through it. There's our plate. Select everything, make a group of it, G. Let's draw in the diagonal bracket. So L, start drawing. Now as I come in the green, I can't see where this diagonal line hits it. I can hover, I can go in the green and hold Shift, and then touch that diagonal line. See how it jumps and finds where those two would intersect. So I click there, zoom back out, and complete the plate. Now P, and we'll pull that plate out to there. See the dot? Spin around and do the same for the other side of the plate, just using the CAD line work. Spacebar and triple click, and we'll make a copy from there to there, and that placed them exactly where we needed them. Triple click on all of them, and Command X or Control X to cut them to the clipboard. Then edit that group and go into Edit, Paste in Place. It puts the geometry back in relative to the world origin, but it puts it inside of this group. So all that got moved into the group. So there's our bracket. All we need to do is get this shaft, and it's a threaded shaft with the nut. So I'll orbit from the side, or from the top view. C for circle. Let's do 8S for 8 sides, because it's an 8-sided bolt. So hover over the midpoint, come away, and hold Shift. Find the other midpoint, click, pull away. Now to make it the same size, we can still use the CAD geometry for reference. Just hover, but don't click. Come back, pull slowly, and when it's across from it, you see the dotted line, it will line up. So I can click there, then P to pull, and use the CAD geometry, and it lines it up. We'll go to the front view, to verify, and it's not correct. So my hunch is, we'll undo back, my hunch is the CAD's wrong. So let's edit the CAD group, select all these lines and move them from the midpoint of the shaft, hold down Shift and go to the midpoint of our bracket, and it moved 3/16 of an inch, so it was off the way they drew it. Alright, now let's go ahead and draw another circle. Hover, click, hover, click, P to pull, find the endpoint, go to front view. There we go, it's dead on. So let's do the top of the circular shaft. So C, find the center, hover over an endpoint, come back down, draw over until it finds it, infers it, click to place it, then P to pull that up against the CAD geometry. Triple click on all this stuff, and let's make a quick group of it and edit that group, turn off the rest of the model. So we want to copy this circle down, so we'll copy it to this surface, then P and push-pull that out. See the rest of the model and use the CAD line work to line it up. So last thing for our bolt, I'll hide the rest of the model. It's smooth and we want it to actually be sharp edges. So let's show hidden geometry. So view hidden geometry, or I use Shift H to hide and show geometry. We'll go to wireframe and we'll just do a selection window right through all those edges. And under entity info, we'll unsoften and unsmooth them. Go back to shaded mode, turn off the hidden geometry, and now it looks like we wanted. There's our bracket for the top of this assembly. So select everything, make a component. We'll set the component axes to be back here. And we want to replace the selection, create it, move or make a copy from the center of that, tap Control or Option, come back out and find our other bracket, find the center of it, click to place it there. Now rotate it in place. And it looks like it needs to spin around. So we'll spin it around from this center point. And we'll spin it around 180 degrees. And there is our finished assembly, the way it lays on a grade beam. And we've modeled all this from some very simple CAD line work. I've also recorded a video of this showing how to do this from a JPEG file or a PDF file. The CAD file has snappable points, so I prefer it if you have it. But if you don't, you can create the same kind of model from a two-dimensional JPEG or PDF file.